Hello everyone, I'm Jay.
I'm Val.
And today we're in Murfreesboro, Illinois. And why are we here, Val?
We are here for the Big Muddy Monster.
Yes, the Big Muddy Monster. Another one of those cryptids that I have been learning about. So, there's a bunch of reports, even police reports of sightings in Murfreesboro, Illinois. So let's go around and check out some of the sites of where people have seen this big, huge, smelly creature. Come along with us as we Jay and Val around Murfreesboro, Illinois.
The night's young, it has just begun, as she puts her hand in mine. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull the stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be two hearts running wild. Now the morning.
So this is the town of Murfreesboro. Check it out. This is such an old town, it's mesmerizing.
So, okay, we'll start right here. Behind me is a 9-foot bronze statue of the Big Muddy Monster. Now, it was supposed to be made off of the police report of the sighting of the Big Muddy Monster, but because the town didn't want it to be a screaming creature, they made it a little more tame behind me. And I can tell you this, a lot of the people in the town don't like this statue, but it's a great representation of how the town has embraced the folklore, the legend, what is called the Big Muddy Monster.
So this is just one more thing that Murfreesboro does to embrace the Big Muddy Monster. Check out this wall. It is amazing. As we walk up closer, you're going to notice that the Big Muddy Monster itself is 3D-ish. I think that is just so awesome. It really comes out at you. They really did an amazing job on this. There were several different artists that helped on this. It's lifelike. When you're standing back, it is absolutely gorgeous. And the fact that they put a whole bunch of different things from the town, the apples from the apple festival that they have here too, but the Big Muddy Monster itself is amazing. So even some of the businesses really embrace the Big Muddy Monster, like Farm Fresh Soaps here. Check out what's in their window.
Now there's a funny story to this guy here. They actually dress him up to the different holidays. So for 4th of July, he was patriotic. Right now, he's a sunflower, probably for the fall. And it'll be neat to see what he looks like for Halloween. So as you can hear the cars go by, I am making my way out to the middle of this bridge here in the emergency lane. So please guys, don't do this. This is stupid. But I wanted to get a shot of the Big Muddy river from the center here of the bridge. Of course, they got some power lines right in our sight, but in this direction is the boat ramp. So it would be this side of the river that the Big Muddy Monster would have been seen. That's right down the center of the Big Muddy River, which absolutely lives up to its name. You cannot see anything at the bottom of this river. Now the sun's behind me right now, so hopefully you can see me, but I'm walking off of the bridge now. That's crazy. I don't recommend it, and I will not do it ever again. But I just wanted to see the Big Muddy River for myself, you know? So this is the boat ramp that was described in the first report of the Big Muddy Monster sighting. And we're gonna get to that story in a second. But here's the wooded area right here where Big Muddy Monster would have been hanging out. And I'm gonna carefully walk down to the water's edge here and check out the Muddy Monster. It looks like a portion of the road here, a portion of the boat ramp has washed away. But as you can see, it's not deterring anybody from putting their boats in the water. Oh wow. So way over there in the distance, that's the bridge that I was on earlier, checking out the Big Muddy River from up top. And now I'm here literally on the river bank. Now again, on your right hand side is the wooded area that the Big Muddy Monster would have been seen in. All right, so let's get started with the Big Muddy Monster, the legend, the folklore, the cryptid. We're gonna start right here in this parking lot, and this is where the first report and first sighting of the Big Muddy Monster happened. So let's talk about the Big Muddy Monster before we get to the police report of the first sighting. Big Muddy Monster is like 7 to 8 feet tall. He's like a Bigfoot creature, but he has a lighter shade of fur, more grayish color, and he was full of mud, and he got the mud from the Big Muddy River, and that's how he got his name. Now, he also has that really bad smell, and that's one of the staples to identifying the creature. It's June 25th of 1973. There's a couple who use this parking lot to hook up and hang out. I thought at first they were a couple of teenagers up to no good, but in my research, it was actually two married people and not married to each other. And they were here on an affair. Now, something in the woods scared them so bad that they had to rush to the police station and make a report. Now, the two of them, again, were married to other people, and this is a very small town, so for that to get out, that was gonna be a huge, huge problem. And they were willing to take that chance to go to the police station and make a report. So we're going to use our car as an example of where the couple would have probably parked in the boat ramp parking lot. Now, of course, we're in the far end of the parking lot, and they probably would have been this way as well, away from everybody, right? And this would have been the tree line right in front of them. So this is their sight line right here. And I don't know about you, but if I'm hanging out with somebody and enjoying their company, and then a big monster appears from this tree line, I'm going to be scared out of my wit as well. All right, so let's get to that police report of the first sighting of the Big Muddy Monster. I've got my notes here, so I'm going to kind of read from that and cheat a little bit, huh? So this is what that report said. It was about 11:55 p.m. on June 25th, 1973. A young man, his name was Randy Needham, and a young woman, her name was Judy Johnson. They showed up at the Murfreesboro Police Department, and they reported a sighting of an unknown creature. Now, Randy told police that he heard a loud screaming sound coming from the woods. A large creature about 7 feet tall with light-colored fur covered in mud. And it was on 2 legs, and it was coming straight for their car. It was screaming and changing tones the whole way. So as the monster got closer, Randy just hit the gas and sped off and went straight to the police department. Now, Judy was in the car as well, and she told police that she could hear the loud screaming, but she didn't get a good look at where it was coming from or even who it was coming from. So Murfreesboro sent 2 police officers out to this location, and they started going through the woods looking for any traces of the Big Muddy Monster. They didn't find anything out of the ordinary at all. And they even came back at like 2 in the morning with Randy and went through the woods once again, only to find one piece of evidence. It looked like it was a footprint about 10 to 12 inches long and 3 inches wide that was in the mud. It was about 3 to 4 inches deep. That's all they could find. They couldn't find anything else. So as they were conducting their investigation, they heard another loud scream and shrill. And that scared everybody. They all jumped in their cars. The police officers kind of shined their spotlights into the woods one more last time, and then they all just left the boat ramp parking lot.
So the second report actually happened 1 day later on June 26, 1973. Murfreesboro Police Department got a phone call from Miss Henry Ray that her daughter and her boyfriend had just seen a large creature outside their house back in the field. A couple of officers headed over to meet Cheryl Ray and Randy Creeth and get their stories. The couple were sitting on the patio talking when they saw a patch of small trees moving around in the field behind the house. They watched as the monster walked out of the trees at the edge of the yard and then walked right back into the field. They told the officers it was 7 to 8 feet tall, weighing 300 to 350 pounds. Dirty white or cream-colored hair, standing on 2 feet. The boyfriend also mentioned the foul, musky odor he smelled coming from the monster. A call was placed to bring in a police dog to see if the creature could be tracked down. The dog was highly trained and began tracking down the hill where the monster had last been seen. The dog would keep stopping and sniffing a slime substance dripping off the weeds. As the dog kept tracking the slime, it would show up from time to time on the weeds and trees. The canine officer put some of the slime between his fingers and rubbed it together. The slime would turn his fingers black. Every time the dog found more slime, it would pause. The dog made its way around a pond to the south side into a wooded area. It was way too thick to walk through, so they called off the search. The officers went through the area one more time with their flashlights. They moved about a half a mile south of the pond behind 37 Westwood Lane and started tracking again. In the search, they found an abandoned barn where the dog would not go into. Now, this dog was highly trained, even to check out buildings, but not that day. The officer pushed the dog inside the barn and it ran out as fast as it could. With not being able to figure out what was going on with the dog, the officers went into the barn themselves to investigate, but found absolutely nothing. After continuing the search of the area a little longer, there was no sign of the creature, and they ended it, still wondering what was out there terrifying the residents. A side note, one of the next-door neighbors to the Rays told police that 10 minutes before the couple saw the monster, his child came into the house and told him that there was a large ghost in the backyard, but he didn't take the child seriously.
So in the third report, it's July 7th, 1973 at Riverside Park. And a couple of officers are stopped around 6:05 p.m. by the owner of a carnival, and he wanted to make a report that a couple of his workers had seen a large creature in the area of the carnival. So the owner's name was Bert Miller, and he didn't report the incident right away because he didn't want to scare off his customers, but he pointed up to the 4 workers who had watched this creature. According to the workers, it was about 2 in the morning, July 7th, 1973, and they heard a commotion caused by the ponies. The ponies were tied to the trees in an area east of the West Shelter behind the carnival trucks. The ponies were trying to pull loose. The workers made their way around the trucks to check on the ponies and saw a large monster, 7 to 8 feet tall, with light brown hair over its entire body, standing upright on 2 legs and weighing 300 to 400 pounds. It was standing near the ponies, just observing and staying still. So this is Riverside Park, and this area right here would be where that carnival was. It makes sense. I mean, it's a large, wide open area here. Now, today they're using it for disc golf. But back in 1973, I can only imagine this filled with amusement rides and food and carnival games and everything else you can imagine. Now, as I turn the camera this way, over on this side of the road, this is the tree line that goes right down the Big Muddy River. So I can only imagine that this would be the area where all of the carnival trucks would be, and the animals, the ponies, were probably tied up to the trees over here. And this would be the area that the Big Muddy Monster basically was checking out the ponies, possibly for food, and just checking out the people in general and being curious. I mean, it only makes sense. The river is literally on the other side of these trees. The workers ran to the owner's trailer to tell him what was going on. They rushed back to show the boss, and there was no creature. He was gone. Now it's 3 in the morning, and a worker named Charles Kimball reported the monster had come back to the ponies, very interested in them. Charles ran and got Mr. Miller, but by the time they got back, whoever was there was gone. My opinion, the ponies were easy food to hunt for the creature and probably would have went missing if it wasn't for the workers.
So the 4th report came on June 19th, 1976. Murfreesboro police got a call about 10 p.m. from a Mrs. Ray Kells that her son and his 2 friends had just seen a large monster outside their house at 25 Westwood Lane. So the officers were dispatched and they met everyone that was involved there at 25 Westwood Lane. It was Ricky Kells, 10 years old, David Tyler, 11 years old, and Russell Ward, 13 years old, and all of their parents. They had actually waited to call the police till they knew what was going on, but when they saw how the kids were acting, they thought they'd better call the police and bring them out. So the boys showed the area where the Big Muddy Monster was, and there was no tracks whatsoever. They did come across an area where large rocks had just recently been turned over. So the boys were interviewed, and this is what Ricky had to say. He said that he, David, and Russell were playing wiffle ball. The ball was hit foul, and they went looking for the ball between the two houses. Ricky walked down a hill, and that's when he saw a very large creature. He described it to be 7 to 8 feet tall, covered in gray hair with large ears, and it was standing next to the woods. He called out to the others so they could see it as well, and as soon as they did, they started to run back to their parents. Well, Ricky turned around to look back at the monster, and it was already going back into the woods. And at that time, he heard some large thumps, not knowing what that was. So the second boy, David, and the third boy, Russell, basically had the same story as Ricky.
The fifth report was filed June 27, 1976, around 9 p.m. Murfreesboro Police Department got a call from Public Service which said that the creature was spotted around Merle Mifflin's house. So they sent officers to Mr. Mifflin's house to talk to everybody who was involved and to see what they were concerned about. So Merle told the officers his 2 children and one of their friends were playing just north of the house when they saw a large animal walking through the small wooded area near where they were playing. Mr. Mifflin also added that his dog was with the children and it began to bark and growl at whatever was in the woods. The dog would not enter the woods at all, and that was very unusual for his dog to act. The officers and Mr. Mifflin searched around the whole area of the house. They walked the property and found no trace of anything. No animal, no Big Muddy Monster either. One of the officers talked to the 3 children to get their stories and a description of what they saw. First was Michael Mifflin, and he told his story that the creature was 6 foot tall, weighs between 5 and 6 tons, with black fur. He also said he saw the monster walking along a creek bank southwest of his house around 9 in the morning, Saturday, June 26, 1976. The second was the friend, Karen Gruber, and she said that her and the other 2 were playing on the swing set about 75 feet northwest of the house. That's kind of an exact amount, isn't it? She heard something walking in the woods and the dog barking. She mentioned whatever she saw was real tall and fat. It was walking south around 8:45 at night. Melinda Mifflin was the third to talk to the officer, and she said she was playing near the swing and she saw something walking in the woods. You know, with children, sometimes it's hard to describe things, you know, because they kind of embellish the story a little bit. So I bet it was hard to take this account seriously. So this is Mifflin Lane, and this is where Merle Mifflin in 1976 would have lived, where he had his 2 children and their friend see the Big Muddy Monster from their swing set. Now, it says no trespassing, and we are gonna definitely respect that. So that's why I'm just gonna do a shot like this where it shows the dirt road / driveway. Alrighty. The Big Muddy Monster story is over. So whether it's real, whether it's just an unproven story, or even a hoax that maybe somebody dressed up in a costume to scare a couple of people, that's for you to decide. So Val, did you have fun?
I had a blast. This town of Murfreesboro is absolutely just amazing. Nice little bitty old town. And the fact that they embrace everything with this story is awesome. All the murals, all the statues, it is great.
So if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, comment down below. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and help us get to 1,000 subscribers.
It'll let you know when the next video is coming out, and it'll keep you in the loop.
So we want to thank you for coming out, learning a little bit about the Big Muddy Monster with us. We want to thank you for Jay and Valing around with us.
Sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop.